Hello, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for being here and giving us the opportunity to discuss what's the latest and greatest in the utilization of AI. Just to start off, just to give some numbers, it's predicted that by 2028, the AI within the media and entertainment industry will be at $99 billion and growing at over 25%. We're already seeing how AI is reshaping how content is delivered, personalized, and enjoyed, be it with Netflix, Spotify. We're seeing more and more AI utilized in selecting scripts, seeing if they're going to be a winner, and then also within video editing and advanced effects. What I would like to do is start by essentially seeing how your organizations are sort of utilizing AI-assisted personalization and monetization, which also sort of links to the first panel where they were also, eLife was talking about how AI is being used to increase retention and revenue gain. So if I can start from Will.
Sure, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. So we're really trying to, on content recommendations and personalization, we're really trying to expand on our existing models of where we're looking at the data and trying to provide content based on viewership and location, geography, etc. But now, in the past we've been looking at scraping content for metadata, and in the past it's been extremely expensive to really get that data and surface it. So now with the advancement of GPUs and the reduced cost of cloud, we're able to sort of put that metadata now into the recommendations and really surface a greater depth of the library to our customer. We're also, we'll have that debate, do we want automated content recommendation carousels? The content editors would like to see, their personal input onto what people want to watch. And the introduction with the sort of LLM models on top of that data really lets them surface the right amount of content, the depth of content, and bringing that forward. In terms of sort of monetization, it's looking at from anywhere from ads. When's the right time to be serving ads? How many ads should we be serving? And being more reactive in real time rather than looking at a 10, 20-day period and trying to react to BI reports, and really be far more sort of dynamic in how we try to monetize those customers. And then I suppose finally is on the data processing itself. Before we have retail pipelines, we have our BI reports, and what we can really now start to see is more advanced sort of churn prediction models, content ROI models, and really try to drive the business and give the business insights on how to make business change in a more effective way.
For us?
Yeah, just complimenting on Bill's points. Yes, definitely there's a big shift that we have seen as well since we have gone completely AI-driven personalization recently. So our ideology was as usual, typical media group where rules-based engines, these kind of things will work. And they are the right drivers for getting the consumption either stagnant or uplifts. But we realized this last year that this is not the way forward because we have so many genres in our catalog, and especially when you're serving live sports and other linear channels along with the VOD business and AVOD business, the balancing between all these three verticals is not humanly possible, no matter how big is the team that I can cope up with. So that's where we realized, and we thought that okay, let's try something. Just like a POC, where instead of us getting our business rules driven by a machine learning, because then there's no point between a business rules-driven engine versus a typical AI-driven personalizer. So we came up with a hyper-personalizer. We started with a couple of carousels across different sections that we have, and we even immediately started seeing a different shift in the consumption. And more importantly, the LTV, which is the main driver for all of us, I guess. How much we can retain a customer for how long, right? And then we figured out, okay, yes, this is the way forward, and let's keep on developing on this particular vertical and enhance as much as we can. towards more and more AI-driven carousels, AI-driven ranking, and without having any caching in place, which is more important. So a complete new refresh whenever you load an app, fully personalized for each and every user. And then we started using this whole data that we were collecting out of those clicks, impressions, stays, consumption, metadata, all of these things kind of started to give us a new picture that we use towards search, towards engagement, towards targeting the customers, and all these things add up. And we immediately noticed, like within 3 months of us went live with AI-driven personalizers, we saw a 400% uplift in the consumption, which is definitely phenomenal.
Israel.
I think, we are looking into AI almost in every single step we do, from corporate applications to broadcast. User content recommendation. There are some use cases that are very, or maybe more mature. But we are looking also into things like production, everything around languaging, subtitling, dubbing. We have content in all the continents, several languages, so we see opportunity. That doesn't mean we have gone at scale in production yet. But we are looking into how it can tap in all these production areas. Monetization, other than what the colleague said, I think we are seeing how to use it on things like churn prediction, or how to engage better with our customers, but also one important area for us is anti-piracy and content protection. And I would say we are using AI in that space probably earlier than any other. We think there is an opportunity there to help our teams to catch and react faster to content leakage and content stealing, right?
Brad, you've just moved to the region, so welcome. Like to get your inputs in terms of how news benefits from the utilization of personalization.
Sure, thanks. So IMI, just as a bit of background, is a privately owned media investment business that owns brands like Sky News Arabia, CNN Business Arabic, Alain, and The National. So mainly free-to-air broadcast and then ad-supported digital services. So where we're quite early on in the journey around personalization and recommendations. So really getting first-party data is a bit of a challenge, and so we've kind of busy with the process of rolling out CDP, so our customer data platform. And we've kicked off an initiative within The National, so our English-speaking digital platform, to do registrations to start getting first-party data. And then from there, building up profiles and personas so we can then start creating personalized content. Less so on the other channels, but those will kind of follow suit thereafter. So early stages still, but we're on the journey.
Rumili, you get to work with a number of customers, and as a chief data officer, obviously you have access to a lot of data. What do you see on your side in terms of personalization and how AI could be further enhanced or used in a more in a way where it can detect future trends opposed to past behavior?
Okay, so hello. I'm the only chief data officer. It's funny. But yes, so Vice Orca is collecting a lot of data because we provide end-to-end TV solutions. So, and I could hear this morning very interesting comments about the need to get end-to-end data from all parts of the solution. So that you can make data from all part of a solution makes 1 + 1 = 3 when you want to provide personalization or monetization. We have been working on recommendation. We have been working on audience measurement and segmentation, targeted advertisement, and especially in the field of recommendation, we realized that using AI for recommendation, there was a risk of this black box and algorithm effect. So the user experience had to be also more user-friendly in regards of how you use AI for recommendation. You have to provide recommendation that you can explain. Okay, so when you use AI, there must be an explanation about how and why you are using AI. So I guess that's a first feedback. We also used large language models also to make the life of our customers easier in terms of audience segmentation. You could define a segment just by natural language, by describing it easily. Instead of getting into very complicated details, we will generate the segment for you based on a just generic description. So that's another use of AI to make life easier for marketing campaigns or advertisement campaigns. And that's about AI as tools for us, for data scientists. I think we could see last 3 years that AI is not anymore a tool just for us, but it's actually a tool for the end user. So since OpenAI was releasing an AI you can chat with, we can see that actually our end users are directly using AI. So AI is not just a tool, AI has become a user experience. So the ultimate personalization of the user experience will be potentially this personal assistant, where, just to give an image, like your OTT application becomes your friend, one of your friends on your phone, maybe your best friend. And if it's your best friend, you can see that the personal assistant connected to APIs will build an ecosystem, and that's the super application. So it means that AI becomes a UX, becomes your super assistant, becomes your super app. So from AI as a tool to AI as a user experience, that's going to be a very exciting time. I used to work in the field of robotics many years ago, and we were struggling on what we call humanized interfaces because we wanted to make robotics more acceptable for people. And these last 3 years, large language models have been just like making all barriers fall down. And for people like me who used to work in the middle age of AI, we are very excited, especially the user and the personalized user experience that you will have with AI. So it's just a tool. AI will probably become the new ergonomics around the applications.
So, in terms of moving this to hyper-personalization then, at the moment, are we just limiting the use of AI to past behavior and demographics? Do we see it being further pushed into emotional patterns, into sort of like seeing where we are at, what mental stage the viewer is at, to really like personalize the delivery of that piece of content, and like what stars take on that, and is there a direction to achieve that?
Yes, so it's a very good question. So if we're gonna drive this personalizer or hyper-personalizer in a way that we want it to work, I guess that's something which we are limitizing the whole scope of Gen AI and LLM, private LLMs. The whole idea is to drive different deep learning models, including sentiments. What is your actual behavior of the customer? Not just consumption. If you don't have any consumption, what is actually he wants to watch? And that's the art that you have to figure out. How you're going to drive without even him watching something. That's exactly what he wants to watch from his behavior to start with. How is he browsing? His browsing patterns, his search patterns, his clicks patterns. What kind of directors he's clicking more on. And this is how you start the ladder, the first step towards engagement using AI or personalizer. And then gradually you start to bring a shift of consumption into the mix, as well as the other behaviors that are associated with that particular user. Now that user could be an AWOD user, could be SWOD user. So this variation is very different when it comes to writing such algos to support this kind of personalization, because in SWOD, you are behind paywall. So you have to offer more and more premium. You can't just offer him something which is not premium asset. I mean, you could come up with different predicts, but these predicts has to be properly balanced, and then only it will work. So yes, and this is, so it's just a start, right? Everyone is now, first step was to adopt it and go live with production. Just like Israel, I mean, he mentioned that A lot of things are already tested, ready to go live, but now they are figuring out, okay, which is the important one and what is the volume that we can drive through AI. We also went with the same approach, not only on personalization across all the verticals, but personalization was an immediate one where we could see definitely something that's going to get turned, and it turned very well for us in terms of consumption. So yes, sentiments, obsession, behavior, this is how you're going to start with, and then gradually you can mix other factors into the personalization. And that's the beauty of this algorithms that we're writing.
Since he mentioned you, I'll come to you, Israel.
As I said, we are still not using it heavily on recommendation, but I would tend to agree with Faraz. Anything that can help us be more relevant to that specific user is what we are looking into, right? So I guess you start gradually. You start with the safest spot, wherever it's even easier to measure the results on the KPIs out of there, and then anything that can help build that profile to the user is what you are looking into, right? So, but I think, yeah, we need to also take a cautious approach to make sure it's relevant and it stays
The cautious
safe.
approach is very important. I agree, because you're going to start with something, and then you will end up with many other verticals, and then you will end up having ambiguous results as well. So that's the approach that definitely we learned at as well.
Well, as an aggregator, I mean, what do you see?
Yeah, so I think we've got to try and take as much data in as we can for as much value as we can. And I think it's a learning, it's an evolution. I think as we touched on, we can make changes, and we can adapt, and we can try and interpret data, we can try and train the model, and then we can also see negative results that come out of it. So, we try to also leverage being part of the telco. So we have a lot of information, what they're using on our service, and also what other services they're doing in the household. So whether it be the profile information, or what age bucket we try to put them in, or, as Faraz said, is what did they use? We have a percentage of people on our platform who come on the platform, they search, they browse, and they leave the platform. So they haven't found what they wanted, right? So how does that drive content decisions going forward? How does that drive what content we want to recommend them moving forward? So it's an interesting space, and it's something you just got to keep persevering with, and trying to get as many data sets, as much value out of it, but also recognizing where you maybe went down the wrong path and come back where you need to.
Romulus?
Yeah.
I'll come back to you on the hyper-personalization again. So do you think different regions have a different take on hyper-personalization? Is it applicable to all?
Sorry, I couldn't hear.
So there's regions, different regions. For example, will hyper-personalization work for all regions?
Oh, yes. Yeah, obviously, there's a big debate when AI is involved in personalization about the bias, that the AI will have, and to be careful about customizing the AI for a specific region. So the answer to your question is there is a need, definitely, to personalize AI for a specific region, whether from the cultural perception, different, aspects. With these large language models, we work a lot in what we call reducing the toxicity of what the AI can do, and the definition of what would be a toxic content is completely different based on the region. So as long as personalization will be based on AI, you will need to adapt it to the regions. Yes.
Can I comment there?
Sure.
So I think in terms of bias and the regions, quite an interesting aspect, I think, is that there's a distinct lack of Arabic content to feed into large language models, and therefore there's inherent bias in a lot of the outputs. So one of the projects, because we generate a lot of Arabic content, we're working with some of the research institutes to actually provide them with Arabic content to feed into their large language models to actually enhance the outputs. So I think it's quite an important thing for the region to understand there is bias within those models inherently.
I think bias within AI is definitely on its own quite an important topic to consider, and I think it's an ever-evolving area where we can continue being at it, but as long as the human input is there will always be bias, whether it is regional, language, and very good point, Brad. Now, in terms of investments into all of this, we are seeing at government levels, like for example, Dubai appointed 22 chief AI officers within different entities. We've seen similar steps in UK and Australia. But when it comes to media and entertainment, be it the larger players or the localized players, we're not seeing any similar steps. So is there a lack of seriousness towards AI? We think it's a passing cloud. Why the extremities in the investments into resources and giving it a budget?
I can kick off. I don't think it's a lack of seriousness or intent. I think it's the reality of media entertainment it's a tough industry with a lot of margin pressure. I mean, we heard from the first two panels around how hard it is within the OTT platforms to actually generate proper margin. So I think the focus currently sits within optimization or enhancements, mainly within our industry. So how do you improve things? And there, we're all looking to drive out automation and things like that to drive out some of our costs. The other would be where Gen AI can play a role in generating new content. So we've had some quite good successes in creating short format documentaries that are 100% AI generated, from script, the video content, the voiceovers, the transcription, those types of things. So I think we've got to balance the efficiencies that AI brings and promises, and also then how do you generate new things, because that's where the real upside should be.
I think people are now putting the right strategies in place in all the different sectors, including media. But if you ask me personally, I guess media is the easiest to adopt AI. Because here we are talking about something which is already exposed to public. You have a lot of data that you can use to bring something valuable to your customers in terms of engagement, experience, acquisition, retention, search, any vertical that you can pick. And I think one of the biggest factor what I'm seeing now is people are actually some of the organizations are still waiting to get it mature as well, because these models are still not there yet. You have to have right skills in your organization to develop and drive those models, because you may end up giving everything to the public and you got nothing else to left with, right, in your proprietary stuff as well. So it's a mix of everything, and some of the guys are also, because when I usually discuss this with my friend circles or my colleagues, one of the biggest concern right now is also the governance. That it's too early for us to bring AI into our organization because we don't know what else is going to come up. So things are getting shaped with the time, and I guess you don't have to go very extreme, but start to bring those efficiencies in place in any sector you want to bring in, and look how gradually they get to transformation stage, and at the same time look into and keep an eye on the governance perspective as well. One of the reasons why these governments are bringing these chief AIs is not just to bring AI DNA into the country or in their organizations, but also to come up with some sort of a governance process in place. That is very, very important. This is why I use the word of private LLM. That is very important for anyone to build an IP. Otherwise, you will end up giving your whole knowledge, your recipes to the whole world.
Israel?
I couldn't agree more. I think governance. Where I spend the most time with my colleagues is on governance. I think whether you bring, of course you might need to bring expertise, but whether you bring expertise or you define an AI department or a chief AI officer, or you upskill your own talent, because there is people already in our organization with that talent, I think it's about governance. Look, one experience, I had to prepare some presentation internal, and I just did a quick through all the different opcos and different territories, only technology and digital teams. What are you guys doing on AI? That was the question. And I thought I need to prepare a few slides in a few days. I got 40 use case POCs being done or things they were looking after, and it wasn't really organized, it was organically. You cannot prevent people from looking into it. There is people with the skills, with the appetite, so it was more about, okay, how we govern that. How do you have a framework? It's about security. Security is extremely important, where the data sits, how it's being used. So when I got this, the concern was how we govern that. We need a framework, we need process, we need approvals, prioritization of use cases, because at the end you will need to invest. So what is the ROI? What are we trying to achieve? So I really think governance is the key. We have not figured it out yet, to be honest. We are in the process, and probably it's an ongoing journey. It's not one-stop kind of milestone, but I think governance framework and how you implement this across the organization, different departments. I don't think it's anymore a technology that sits with the CPO only. We are part of it, but you will have every other department and division and top management to be involved if you really want to transform. You cannot drive it only from technology perspective. And that was the case, by the way. I only asked my teams, but then other teams came and were doing things as well. So control to that is important because, again, you're exposing data, you might be facing customer. So I cannot agree more. Governance for its use case will come. It's more how we govern and how we decide what we do.
Will?
Yeah, so governance is a key point. I mean, I'm thinking even from a development standpoint, right? If you go through the development center, you know, every developer's got ChatGPT open, everybody's taking snippets of code, now, there's a huge potential upside to this, you know. One of I think the key components of us local OTT players is localization. And that's generally done with our in-house development teams. You know, we have our SaaS platforms and we have all the rest of it. But how we add value and differentiate is through localization. But that comes at a cost, whether it be onshore, offshore, wherever your development centers may be. Now, if you can increase your development output by 40, 50%, if you can reduce bugs, have automated monitoring, you know, have error correction, this is all fantastic. But you have to have a level of governance and standardization before we end up putting our whole code bases onto ChatGPT, and it's then opens up a whole lot of security risks and IP issues and so on. So there's a huge potential there, but also got to manage that risk alongside it. Around general investment, I think for the other services, I think we generally catch up in this region. I don't think it's a great investment for each one of us to be plowing money into AI and developers and ecosystems when it's going to be done by someone else and probably licensed at a very cheap and effective cost. So it's balancing that reward, right? Yes, we can tweak our recommendation models. Yes, we can try and look at customer acquisition, customer retention, but pick our battles, right? You know, reintroducing a whole new world of AI. You know, the biggest challenge for OTT players in this region is revenue and trying to balance the book. So I don't think it's a great investment, you know, when there are so many global players out there sort of, you know, paving the way, and then we can take advantage of that in due course.
So I guess, so you know, while we are let's say delivering services which are largely B2C, and we're utilizing AI over there for personalization, enhancements, shouldn't this be opened up more to the smaller players, like a B2B to SMBs, to really like grow the potential of AI?
Sorry, I cannot hear you very well from far, so...
I think the speakers have to be better designed. We've been talking about B2C largely, like, you know, during the panel. If we penetrate the B2B segment and really reach out with AI tools to smaller SMBs, small, medium businesses, wouldn't that empower the use of AI and also help reduce bias?
Bias to access SMEs?
The bias within, you know, within the, whether we use it for AI for personalization or monetization. At the moment, what we're looking at is there's a large push from B2C, right? So OTT platforms, but within the media atmosphere, ecosystem, we're not seeing a larger adoption within B2B segments.
So in the B2B segment, you mean, for example, in the context of a super application where we want to aggregate like services on the application?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's a challenge to combine data from all players into one particular application from different, in this B2B ecosystem. And I could hear this morning as well, you know, this problem of, or this challenge of combining data from different companies and to make this, again, 1 + 1 = 3. How do you combine data from different companies Do you put in place some kind of data clean room where everybody can bring its data, and we can share, of course, with the right encryption and access rights and proper governance. But yeah, to trigger, I would say, the B2B ecosystem on the data, we need tools to share the data more easily. So I'm pretty much interested in all these data clean rooms concepts.
I think some of the earlier panels also touched about the fact of offering a lot more services on their platform. So the concept of super app. Now, is our region the right region to attempt a super app like what we saw with WeChat in Asia, where the user was quite keen on having a one-stop shop for everything? And if our region is ready for it, where are we, in terms of coming up with the MENA super app equivalent of WeChat?
Look, to be honest, I don't know what is the regional strategy for a super app, but all I'm seeing is everyone is adding up a value. Some of the competitors are bringing maps as a value, and then in terms of map, they're selling OTT. Some of them are going the other way around. I mean, they are bringing premium content as a value, and then they are going towards other values or gamification, these kind of things, and they're calling themselves as a super app. I guess there's still not a complete definition of super app that has been put in place yet. All I'm seeing right now is people are trying to find values that they can offer to the customer to retain them. Because in the media entertainment segment, it's challenging to retain a customer. And that's the challenge they're trying to solve through sometimes maps, sometimes games, sometimes even news, podcasts, or radios. But yes, if you want to call a so-called super app, then I believe it's a combination of every single vertical that you can end up doing. But in reality, one or two will work effectively and can give you an ROI. But you cannot expect one customer to go on maps, news, podcasts, radios, and video as well at the same time. So it's just, they're giving everything to a customer with the same value, and then it's up to the customer who's gonna, how is he gonna consume the service.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've nailed it. It's got to be relevant, right? I mean, what's the relevance between watching TV and doing something else? And we're looking. So we have two properties: STC Play, which is esports, STC TV, which is streaming. And we go back and forward, right? Should we merge these onto one app? Should these be into one sort of interface where you can select the two? But it's quite a different customer base, right? Yes, we want to have video inside the gaming app. Yes, we may want some games inside the video app. And being on one platform, having a single login, having those features transferable, very beneficial. But are we going to dissuade customers who are going to get frustrated at seeing some minigame, hey, putt some golf, when they want to watch their TV? So it's a balancing act. I think on a telco side, we also look at it, do you bring in the account management for the telco? Do you bring in other features that sit with loyalty? Do you bring that all under the banner of the telco? But I don't think the sauce has been perfected just yet.
I think, if I can comment, I think on the streaming side of things, this is the big unanswered question, the difference between personalization or hyper-personalization versus convenience. So one-stop shop, it's nice and convenient, it's all in one place. And if you take sport as an example, great to come to one sports streaming channel where you can get to see everything versus some of the other disciplines wanting to go direct. So if you want to watch just F1, well then you go to the F1 OTT channel. If you just want to see EPL, maybe you go to their channel. And what is the right answer? I guess time will tell whether it's I want to come to one place and get everything, or if I'm just going to start aggregating and stacking all these different products, and then I'm going to get frustrated and want it all in one place after all.
I'll be the devil's advocate on this one.
Can I just add one last point in this? To me, if you ask me what is the right super app for a media industry, I guess we all need to have some sort of aggregation methodologies in place so that I can sell Bill's content in my app and he can sell my content in my app. Same like BN, that's the way you can actually do a proper ROI in any form of rights that you are bringing in. Otherwise, Israel is going to keep on bringing rights, but he will never have an ROI. Me, I will keep on bringing sports rights, I will never have an ROI. So I guess if you really want to add a value for a customer, instead of confusing a customer, let him, just to your point on the convenience, right? Let him come on one app, any of us, and then let him have an access, bit of an add-on value, and then he can have access to for the other content which does not exist in your platform, but through another party. I think that's the biggest value that we can add up, and this is my own opinion, I could be wrong as well, but I guess this is how it should be. Instead of serving maps or podcasts or radios or news, not relevant.
Doesn't the additional data that comes, if you have multiple services in this super app, wouldn't that also help your objectives for hyper-personalization?
Yes, you can complement on that, right? I mean, when you're building this personalization engine, then it's up to you how you're going to use that profile that you're collecting for a customer against all the verticals that you are trying to sell to that customer. And once it's sold, then how you're going to engage on that. So it's a blockchain process. I mean, you can definitely leverage on that.
Israel?
About the data?
Yep.
Look, I think on the aggregation, today we had the panel before with the telco colleagues, my colleague also. I think for telcos, seems clear it's no-brainer, right? For example, for us, it depends on your market situation. What is your rights portfolio? What is your market share? It's not the same for me, Turkey, than MENA. In Turkey, we have ISP, and probably it's an easier path. Maybe it's not if, but when for everyone. But it also, I don't think it needs to be necessarily one app or integrating other apps or other SBOT platforms. Or you can have partnership on content. You can have branded rails. You can have a content rail. So, and data, I guess data is the key, right? So we all have different types of partnerships, and who has access to that subscriber data is the key, right? So if you put your content in other platforms and you don't have access, you don't know who your customer is. So I guess that's always the key question, where the data resides, who has access to, and because at the end what you want is to know who's your subscriber, what is watching, how to access, how to retain him and serve. And depending on your partnership or your aggregation strategy, you might not have visibility at all. So that's probably a question why everyone wants to have some sort of control of the app, right?
Agreed, but see, these are executional challenges, not something which cannot be done, right? I think the first thing which we all have to agree on the fundamentals, whether we want to do it or not, because we are putting our execution challenge before actually agreeing on the fundamental problem. I guess sharing the data and profile is no-brainer. I mean, even if I don't give you, you will have many ways to figure out that.
No, but that's the point. I don't think it's technical. I mean, I think all of us are ready for aggregation, right? So the technology allows it. It's a business and a strategy decision to be made. I don't think any of us are concerned to have to do it. Technology is there, and sharing or not sharing data is not a technology.
Completely agreed, yeah.
Constraint. It's business and it's a strategy. It's not technology.
Agreed, 100%.
So as we leverage a lot more cloud, AI, security still continues to remain one of our biggest challenges and threats. Why isn't there a move to use more of blockchain or NFT to sort of counter or better counter when it comes to security issues?
Sorry, I didn't hear all of it.
So when we talk about utilization of cloud and AI, with all of this comes greater threat in terms of security. Now, why haven't we started better utilizing blockchain, NFT, to combat against security issues? We can track rights management a lot more easier. What's your take on that? And are any one of you already heading in that direction?
I can go if you want. So we've been working more than 20 years on cryptography. Initially, VAXS in VAXS Orca, was initially the conditional access system for Orange many years ago. And we could see year after year that we were moving from just content protection to cybersecurity job, first of all. Yes, there are other cryptographic, like blockchain, potentially decentralized kind of content protection systems. but whether it's solving how hackers can hack into our regular cryptographic systems or not, I'm not completely sure it's actually the solution. I mean, compared to the investment, it's not just because it's decentralized that it would, I guess, help things. We are more now focusing again on data and AI in terms of not only content protection before it's consumed, but also to, as quickly as possible, detect when there is piracy, so that you can remediate it as quickly as possible. So we better invest in AI to counter piracy, detect fraudulent behaviors, which is not particularly easy. We get many false positives, so you need to get exhaustive data to discriminate between a bug in your application that is generating licenses or actually someone who is really hacking you. So you need to have exhaustive data to have a real efficient model to detect piracy. But that's what we are now focusing on. Yeah.
But I think security is a very general word. I don't know. I don't think security as such of the cloud data centers is a major concern, I believe. I mean, we invest a lot in security and information security, cyber security, and I think we do reasonably well. But the big guys invest a lot of money, so can we do better than them? Probably not. I think it's more, especially in this region, in my experience, I've been here 10 years, it's more about sovereignty, resiliency of the data. And probably more than any other region that at least I have been in touch with or talking to people. I went to US recently and talking about cloud and AI, and I was asking where the AI processing is happening. People were looking at me almost like, why are you asking? I mean, it's because cloud is this global network, so why do you ask where the AI processing is happening? Well, because for us it matters. In this region it matters. I don't want to speak, US is huge, but the people that was with me, they didn't even wonder, they didn't even care about it. It was, is it secure or not, but not where it's sitting. In our region, I think anything we do, I don't know you guys, but in general, it's where it sits, where it's processed, where is the data center. So I think this region is more sensitive to that resiliency and sovereignty than maybe others. And that's why security is it's a wide concept. But
yeah, I think the DRM solutions are coming along quite nicely in terms of using multiple data sets and models. So if you take the rights management around particular regions, the information you get from ISPs about who's accessing what content and who's using things, and then being able to then work with authorities to do takedowns and with the threat of sort of piracy, I think that's getting a lot of focus and is maturing quite nicely with the use of third-party tools and AI to help with all the data that you need to kind of work through.
And there's maybe one more topic on the security for us. It's the use of AI itself, which is a new exposure also in the terms of cybersecurity. So when we use it for recommendation or to automate operations or to make even a new user interface, there is a new also opportunity always comes with risk, but it's also a new exciting area, cybersecurity around the field of AI, with a new taxonomy of security issues, data poisoning, prompt hacking, where there will be a big need in the industry to address that.
This is where we go back to governance. What to use, how do you use it, how do you expose it? So, yeah.
Yeah, for us, the big focus, especially in KSA, is around PDPL. So really, person-identified information. So really bringing the rules of GDPR and trying to bring them into the kingdom. So a lot of focus at the moment is, back when we built these platforms, we had, mobile numbers, logins, email addresses, landline numbers, and they were all being shared with our analytics platforms, our SaaS platforms, and so on. So the risk there of security breach then becomes multiple points of failure. So now, with finally, we're seeing an introduction of cloud into KSA. We can start to build identity management solutions in the cloud in KSA and lock down one solution, and then have a sort of hash and tokenized value going out to the rest of our partners and platforms to try and reduce some of that risk. But I mean, I don't see a lot of stuff coming out in NFT and blockchain, but security is from from corporate email through to hardening your APIs, from tokenization in the CDN, from the security checks in the code. It's a constant battle, and one that needs to be in the mindset of everybody, and not only in technology in your organization, because it's not just piracy, it's content stealing from the CDN, it's being hacked and getting content that's not yet published. The risk is out throughout the technology stack, and we really try to have a level of maturity in the mindset of not just tech, but the overall organization.
I guess we are now almost out of time. Let's end by getting some of your closure remarks with, what would be your next strategies? We heard about change of strategy in the earlier panel in terms of getting more user attention, trying to grow their revenues. So if we start with you, Will.
Yeah, so I think everybody, wants to have better acquisition, better retention. I think also one of tech's best ways is manage cost. I think as we all grow our OTT platforms, we all want the latest tools, we all want the greatest solutions, and cost wasn't always in the mindset of that sort of process. But now we see a big squeeze on all the organizations in the region, right? So what we can do in tech is really try to optimize those costs, optimize the architecture, optimize the services, bring the real value add, but try and cut back on the tools and the services, the infrastructure that's not really adding value to the product, and try and free up some of the cash for our content and marketing teams to bring home our customers.
For us?
I guess for us, the strategy is more towards reshaping the strategy between all the verticals that we are carrying right now. We believe that there's still a lot of work to do between AVOD, SVOD, sports, linear segment. Now, since we are hosting 2 or 3 different businesses in one app. So that's one side of it. And then, economies of scale, that's something which we are trying to figure out as well while we are scaling up with the volumes and trying to bring all these efficiencies in place either through AI or some other automation matrices. But in reality, we want to shape up the whole thing in a way that it's more feasible for us as well as for our customers, so we can offer him better pricing with more value, and we don't have to get hurt on that.
Romary?
So, as a solution provider for telecos, for broadcasters, for content owners, we see that there is a challenge for our customers in managing data. They want to optimize operations, personalization, monetization, they want security. But we have different people in front of us at our customers, and everybody wants its own data. And I think our challenge is to make one consistent data lake that can address all the needs of our customers in an efficient way, and not address every data topic separately, and still maintaining governance and security for them. So that's the investment. And AI, of course, keep on investing in AI, especially on the user experience and security. Yeah.
Israel?
Well, I think as a business, like everyone, have happy customers, serve them the best we can, and then drive growth. But from technical perspective, new technology, I would say optimization and efficiencies as well. Try to do things better, faster, more efficiently. Use these tools to help the talent in the company to produce. But also I would say we usually take a cautious approach. We don't use technology for the sake of it. So AI, we will look into the use case. Does it make sense? When it makes sense? What it provides? And if it takes time, it takes time. We did it with cloud, and I still believe it's the right approach. So you use it when you need it. It's an enabler. It should not be. I don't think it should be a goal.
I think on the content side, using the technology to optimize how you acquire, produce, and distribute content is a key theme for us and how we're going to kind of part of our strategy going forward, whether it be linear or OTT broadcasting. And if you just look at the recent US election that's on the go at the moment, the use of virtual reality and augmented reality in the sets, in the studios and things like that. But just a simple example of how the tech can be used to sort of optimize how we do things going forward.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time out and joining us on this panel.